It's so good to see everyone here for this very special Sunday morning that we share. I wanted to make an impromptu announcement that's not in your order of service, and it has to do with our signing today with Samantha. We've discovered that most of the people who really like our signing aren't with us. They often are people who are immunocompromised and they are viewing us online. And in order to see Samantha and to see whoever is speaking in the pulpit, we need to have them next to each other. We don't have a dedicated camera that can just focus on her or whoever is in the pulpit. So those of you online, welcome. We hope that you can see and understand a little bit more deeply because of our configuration. Now, those of you who are here in the sanctuary, you may want to watch Samantha too, and you may not be able to see her very well from wherever you are seated, and if you are having any challenges and you would like to move in to, let's say, one of these spots over here where you can watch Samantha and the pulpit simultaneously, please feel free to move around. It's musical pews. And with that said, it's good to be with you.
Good morning. Buenos dias. And welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio. Our weekly worship is where we connect and share information and inspiration. My name is Nancy Pridgen, and I have been a member since 1993. Currently, I serve on the worship committee and teach middle school religious education. Let's acknowledge this geographic place where we are currently located, Yanawana, the home and traditional lands of the Coahuiltecan people, the original and indigenous stewards of this land, now called San Antonio, Bexar County, and Texas. At our church, we strive to share a universal love that binds us in mutual care and affection, especially in our work for justice for all and for our planet. Our faith is all-inclusive, and all means all. If you are new to us or visiting for the first time today, we welcome you to fill out a visitor's card. We'd like to get to know you and follow up with you. Wherever you are on your life's journey, we hope you will find a place with us.
Hold on just a second. And I'd like to before Nancy leaves the stage, give her a little something in appreciation for her 17 years of teaching religious education here at First GU San Antonio.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? Well, let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe we'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand. And oh, someone will come running, and I know they'll take you home.
It's now time for the passing of the peace. Please reach out to a neighbor you know or don't know and say hello. Please stand in body or spirit for hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
I'm Glenna Kachtik, and I serve this church as Assistant Director of Religious Education and as a member of the Worship Committee. We Unitarian Universalists don't drink from our chalice. Instead, we use it to hold the flame. The circle of chalice helps keep the fire small. The flame doesn't blind us. It doesn't burn us. It gives us light. So we can see all the different things in the universe, even the invisible ones, because the Unitarian Universalist flame is a light of learning. And Sheri has served this congregation faithfully, and I think that she has indeed helped us learn. The flaming chalice is a symbol of learning and love. It's our symbol, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism.
We are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all are welcome as blessings. Let us recite our covenant that articulates our promises and binds us together. Please read together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other.
It's time now to share our joys and sorrows. I invite us to enter into our hearts and our minds and our bodies in a very intentional way, remembering that ours is a welcoming community where we are connected, a spiritual community where we come fully alive, a sharing community that amplifies our joys, and a caring community that holds our sorrows in compassion. And action. May we listen more deeply, see one another more clearly, and grow closer to each other each time we gather. And as a way to connect us as a community, I'm going to invite us now to mindfully come forward down the side aisles to our votive candle arrangement up here, being staffed by our worship associates. Come light a candle. And for those who choose to remain seated, let us all hold peaceful and intentional space for all of us present here, for all who are present with us online, so that our candles may be lit for us all and by us all. And we thank Jaime for providing music for this ritual. Today's book of joys and sorrows is predictably full. Let me share some of the things you have written. Joyful for another opportunity for photos to be taken for our picture directory. Please come into the office after the service to sign up. Sorrow for another school shooting. A letter left in the sanctuary door yesterday by a homeless person identified by the initial J, who writes to us in gratitude for our quiet and safe campus for nighttime sleeping, and the use of our water spigots, which they claim have given them hundreds of gallons for their campsite. Sometimes we never know how we're helping people. The letter ends by saying that their fears are eased by the understanding that this church is a place of mind, open mind, heart, and spirit, and supports LGBTQ+. Thank you to our homeless stranger, Jay. For almost 15 years, First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio has been our church home. This is written by Roy Elsie, the magnificent husband of Dr. Sheri Phillabaum. It's been a major factor in our lives, especially Sheri's, as she has been for us. Policy has it that we must step away for a while, so whatever comes, Roy wishes us all the very best. Another person writes, keeping the people of Uvalde in our thoughts during this time. And another writes, grateful that COVID-19 is not as deadly currently, prayers that we continue to vaccinate and get beyond this pandemic. Grateful that my mom, Dora Buhanda, hello Dora, grateful to have her with us. She lives in El Paso and is here for a visit. A big heart from all of us. Thank you. Well wishes for all students and teachers and administrators as they move into the summer. May there be rest and restoration for all. And finally, Sheri will be missed. There are many intentions, joys, and sorrows in our hearts, minds, and bodies this morning. May we join as one, acknowledging them, and be carried forward by this symbol of all of these lights that represent all of our hearts aflame with the purpose and intention that we have to make right, to mourn the loss of life, to have courage, to find the resolve for reform and change. May we act as a community of compassion and connection. May it be so. Ashe. Blessed be.
I have words for the children. And children, you're welcome to come up here and be closer to me so we can have some conversation. If you want to come up, if you prefer to stay with your families, that's okay. Either way, there's room for us. You want to come up? That's all right. It'd be delightful to see you. I'm learning people's names. So this morning, I learned a lot of different names, and I'm trying not to forget them. So have patience with me. You want to come? Close? Here. Here's a place. There's a place. Welcome. Xander, it's good to have you here. Have a seat. Yeah. I wonder, sometimes we have really big feelings, right? Really big feelings. All right? Maybe you've had some big feelings recently. Yeah. Has anybody had a headache recently? No? Okay, maybe. Has anybody had trouble sleeping recently? Okay. Has anybody, like, their stomach's kind of hurt recently? Recently? I don't know. Has anybody had trouble staying awake recently? Like all of a sudden you're going along, it's like, I've got to go lie down. Okay. Sometimes our bodies are like this. Here's why I'm telling you this. Sometimes when we have really big feelings, we can think about the big feelings and think very thoughtfully about how the big feelings are just feelings and they're going to settle down. But our bodies don't stop feeling them. And so sometimes our bodies will start to have other things like headaches or stomach aches or falling asleep or not being able to sleep because our bodies are still trying to figure out what to do with the big feelings. Okay? Now, when we are little people, little tiny people, and we have big feelings, our families will sometimes pick us up and they'll rock us. Do you remember ever being rocked when you were a baby? And then many of us are too big now. It's very hard for people to pick us up and rock us. Right? Sometimes when we were babies and we had big feelings, our families would pick us up and sing to us and sing little songs. And now some of us were too big to be picked up and rocked and have songs sung to us, right? Yeah. But our bodies still like it. So here's something I'm going to teach you. It's going to be a way that you can rock yourself and sing to yourself. I'm going to teach you a song. Okay? Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Think you can do it? Someday. Let's try it again. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Let's try that again. Holy
Our children are so beautiful. Their families are so beautiful. And all of us who love them are so beautiful. At this time, let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and hope, for we are now keepers of the dream.
To the sky from the earth in lofty flight, from the hills so green in the blush of spring, so away with thee shall I fly from this place to a land so far away. Softly now with the dawn I will ride with the wind o'er the hills through the mist on the wings of thee. Spirit fly to the cloud up above. Spirit fly to a place beyond the sky. Spirit fly to a place on high. Softly now with the dawn I go with thee.
All blessings upon your gifts, and all blessings upon you as givers. Thank you.
Good morning. This morning I'm saying goodbye after serving as this congregation's religious educator for 14 years and 5 months. When I first started, working at First UU San Antonio, George W. Bush was the president. A relative unknown named Barack Obama was running, and the first movie in the Marvel franchise hadn't been released yet. So I started in January 2008. I was almost as excited to start this job as I am now to be retiring. My older son was in his senior year of high school, so my husband and our 2 sons stayed in our home in Corpus Christi. I would stay in San Antonio for 4 days and then return to Corpus Christi for 3. When in San Antonio, I would work late into the evenings, and I stayed at the homes of several different congregation members. I was so touched and heartened at the hospitality and generosity of so many people. I remember when my family and I moved into our home in San Antonio before the furniture arrived. We put out the call, and soon we had everything we needed for a couple of days until the furniture arrived. I've been with you, this church, through 2 settled ministers, an interim minister, into the tenure of our current developmental minister. I have lots of wonderful memories of this place. I remember youth weekends, sleeping in one of the rooms on a mattress, an air mattress that kept leaking. I'm sure I have lots of great memories of this place that I can't remember because my memory isn't very good. But every once in a while, I'll be reminded of something. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, I was cleaning out my office, and I ran across the thank you note from the congregation member whose life I saved that time. I was also tangibly reminded a couple times, about 4 years ago, one of the high school youth asked for a dedicated Easter egg hunt just for them, a hunt in which the eggs would be very well hidden. For an Easter Sunday, the only space I thought would work well was my office. So I hid, I'm not sure how many plastic eggs with little mini candy bars in them in clever places throughout my office. And I brought the youth in, telling them to look thoroughly because the eggs were well hidden. Ever since that time, I've periodically found a candy-filled egg somewhere in my office, including 2 in just the past few weeks. I'll leave it to you to wonder, did she eat the 4-year-old candy bars when she found them? I also have a memory of regret. I don't remember what the event was, but I and several other people were in the fellowship hall kitchen, and for some reason I was holding a can of whipped cream, and someone got the idea that I should squirt it directly into my mouth from the can. Some people even started chanting, "Do it, do it." But I was too inhibited, and it would be just so indecorous. I couldn't bring myself to do it, so I put the can down. The disappointment in the air was palpable. I felt really bad that I had let those people down, but the moment had passed. So when thinking about this morning, I thought, this will be your last opportunity to redeem yourself. So to be clear, this is not a story to me about bowing to peer pressure or people-pleasing. It's a story about confronting a fear of looking ridiculous. So when I first decided to retire and set the date, it was still a couple years out. I do plan ahead. I started counting down the days, like you might count down the days to a vacation. It was a countdown to freedom in some ways. Just 740 more days until I never have to recruit another volunteer. Just 521 days until I can go to brunch on Sunday morning. Just 372 more days until safety policy adherence will be somebody else's worry. Just 200 more days of having more things to do than time to do them in. I was counting down the days until my time would be more my own. I was also counting down the days I had left to savor and relish and make the most of. Just 260 more days of companioning with youth and adults as they grow in heart and spirit. Just 100 more days of the satisfaction of clicking items off of a to-do list. Just 55 more days of worshiping in this wonderful sanctuary. Just 23 more days of a life filled with people I have come to love so much. This church has been such a major part of my life. It's hard to imagine life without you. So this is something I've had to wrap my head around, that while you have been about 90% of my life for the past 14 and a half years, I've been a very small part of your lives, in some cases an extremely small part. So it seems right to me that the bulk of my message today is about you, First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio. And for guests and visitors, this is the kind of community you enter into when you enter into this community. So 10 things I love about you. Number 1, you care about making the world a better place. Each of you does it in a different way. Many of you do it in many ways. You march for reproductive rights and racial justice. You advocate for transgender and non-binary children. You speak up when you witness a wrong. You register voters. You recycle and help pay for solar panels and host movies to educate all who care to learn about climate justice and racial justice and economic justice. Number 2, you care about each other. So many times in the past years, I've seen people rally to help each other, sometimes in official ways, as through the pastoral care or member care committees, but even more often through informal networks and word of mouth. I have seen a person burst into tears over an act of generosity by another congregant. Number 3, you care about the other. I see friendships formed that some might think unlikely between people of different races, different genders, different cultural and economic backgrounds. Many of us wear pronouns on our name tags, not because we fear being misgendered, but because we want to create a space where no one need fear being misgendered. We educate ourselves so that we can be welcoming to people of all races, genders, abilities, classes, and neurotypes. As a person living with a neurodivergence or two myself, I can tell you I personally feel more welcome at this or any other UU church than I have ever felt in pretty much any other context. Number 4, you are intellectually inquisitive. In adult religious education, some of the most popular classes are things that some might find daunting. If you want to get a lot of people to adult religious education class, give it a cool name, like presuppositional apologetics, or the Arian and Gnostic roots of Unitarianism. People will come because they are intrigued by the world they live in. Number 5, you're covenant-based. As much as some UUs love a meaty intellectual discussion, you also know that meaning and value ultimately lie not in bodiless abstractions, but in relationship. That's why love is the doctrine of this church. You have a set of agreements that help guide you in building the beloved community. Everyone joining this church promises to do their best to be kind and patient, to listen to one another with openness and curiosity. We even have covenant groups, small groups of people who meet regularly to build those relationships and support one another. I was in a covenant group, and members regularly tell each other how much the group and each individual in it means to them. Number 6, you march to your own drummers. If you want to meet unique people, come to the Unitarian Universalist Church. More and more, I see youth who refuse to conform to conformity's sake. Maybe it's because they know that this is a place where their uniqueness will not just be tolerated, but cherished. Number 7, you are generous. For the past 10 years, religious education has held a gift drive every year. And every year I've wondered, how many gifts am I personally going to have to buy if the congregation doesn't come through to make sure that every person that we promise to help gets the help? And the answer has almost always been 0. I can spend my budgeted philanthropy dollars somewhere else because you have been more than generous. Some years people have even told me, if you don't get all the gifts you need, just let me know and I will make up the difference. And when I think about church finances, including my own paychecks, which I will miss almost as much as I will miss you, I'm just amazed at the whole concept. When you go to Target or Starbucks and you give them money, you receive something tangible in return, a shirt or a latte or a pack of gum. When you pay your taxes to the government, you may do it with a glad heart, but you also know that if you don't do it, you'll be in trouble. But when you give to this church, there is no quid pro quo. What you give or don't give has almost no effect on what you personally receive, and you certainly won't be punished if you can't or just don't want to give. And yet, you paid for all of this, and you didn't have to. You give because you value higher things. Now, some of you may be thinking, I didn't pay for any of this. I don't pledge, or I give very little because very little is what I have. That's fine. This place was built by everyone giving what they can. You're generous with your money. You're also generous with your time and talent. When you look at the work that goes into making this church what it is, only a small percentage of the work is done by paid employees. Most of the work is done by you. 8, you have a sense of fun. You use can party. We enjoy each other's company. Some of the best Halloween costumes I've ever seen, I saw at a First UU Halloween party. We have an eggnog social at Christmas, an egg hunt at Easter, a senior lunch on Valentine's, picnics during the summer, and more cake receptions than I care to count. Our celebrations were put on hold for a while by COVID, and even now they're curtailed and modified. But you cannot stop a San Antonio Unitarian Universalist from having fun. Now, I doubt there's anything I've said so far that someone hasn't thought of a counterexample. A time when you saw someone not welcomed as they should have been. Ways in which we could do much more to further social justice. Someone you know for a fact doesn't give as much money to the church as they could. A time we had a really dull party. I'll take this opportunity to mention a pet peeve. Finding trash in the recycle bin. No, First UU San Antonio is not perfect, but you are in the arena. As Theodore Roosevelt said, the credit belongs to the man, we would say person, who is actually in the arena, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio is not perfect, but you strive valiantly. Our church agreements themselves acknowledge that failing to meet our own expectations is a natural part of a process of growth, and that when we do fail, we will work for restoration. So back to our list. Number 9, you're open to change. In many Western religions, change is anathema. Religious liberals understand that change is not only a good thing, it is essential. UUs believe that revelation is not sealed. We welcome growth and change. And that's good, because change is coming to this congregation big time. Which leads me to the 10th thing I love about you. You have an amazing future ahead of you. All of the exciting things that are starting to happen make me especially sad to leave, but I'm not sure I could stand the excitement. One of the first big changes has already happened. The addition to the staff of the amazing Reverend Nell Newton as assistant minister. As this church's first ever assistant minister, Reverend Nell brings gifts to the congregation and has already shown that she will enrich our church lives. You will, of course, have a wonderful new director of lifespan religious education, who I am pleased to introduce very briefly today. I have to admit, in the back of my mind, I was sort of hoping that my successor would be mediocre, so people would appreciate me more. But alas, that appears not to be the case. Your new DLRE is Bridget Laughlin. She will start August 1st. Bridget has served for 3 years as Director of Religious Education at Woodinville UU Church in Woodinville, Wisconsin. Oh, I have a WI. Washington, thanks. Bridget holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Theater Arts with an emphasis on management and directing. On June 12th, she will graduate from Seattle University's School of Theology and Ministry with a Master of Divinity degree. And you can read more about the new DLRE in upcoming announcements. Along with this wonderful new staff, you have some terrific upgrades coming to the facility. In the fall, you will begin a capital campaign, which seeks to raise an amount of money worthy of the aspirations of this congregation. It will take years, but at the end of the process, you will hopefully have, just to give a few examples, a larger, more modern kitchen with a dishwasher. Just think, no more 45-minute dishwashing marathons after potlucks. There will also be upgrades to what the capital campaign brochure graciously refers to as our vintage religious education classrooms, and all sorts of upgrades to the playground, parking lot, and grounds. As I've mentioned, this is a generous congregation, so I have no doubt that all members, friends, and acquaintances of First UU will dig deep and do everything they can to make a successful campaign. As a gesture of this faith, my spouse, soloist Roy Elsie, and I have anteed up and made an early contribution. And so, First UU San Antonio, I bid you a bittersweet farewell, but not quite yet. I believe there will be a little bit of a celebration on the patio after church, and I hope to see you there. And now, we have a hymn, which I've lost.
Save some of that energy because I'm about ready to present her with a gift from us. So please stand as you are willing and able and turn to number 6 in our gray hymnal, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Let's sing out all 3 verses. Thank you for leading us, Jaime. Written by our own Alicia Carpenter. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. seated, and thank you. Our chalice will be extinguished by Edina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. Are you here?
It's just their words. Who's to say that I've been changed for the better, but because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
I got it. Thank you for reading those for us, Sheri. Well, what would a farewell be? Without a presentation of a substantial gift. If you wonder what Sheri's favorite colors are, you might look at this beautiful blouse, and you might also look at the paper on this gift. Sheri, I love the way you grabbed that ready whip and made a statement.
Oh, it's still not better.
The creme de la creme.
Should I open it?
How fast can you rip that paper off?
Oh, very, I'm sure. There's not a box. Okay.
This is art glass, blown, mounted on a black marble base. There you go. It says, Sheri Phillabaum, PhD, with deep gratitude for guiding our lifespan religious education, January 2008 to June 2022, First UU Church of San Antonio. You've already anticipated who we are and what we will do for you and what you have done to us. I did want to present this here in full view of our online attendees because we are going to continue our celebration on the patio for those of us who are here physically. Sheri, have we shocked you and put you in awe enough? Do you have a word for us?
Thank you.
Thank you. Jaime, play us out.